Viewer discretion is advised.
Dallas Cowboys Harvey Bright. You wish it was Jerry Jones, the Palpatine of the NFL.
I want me some glory hole.
But Jones has hardware, and for as much as he loves him some glory hole, he has been successful as the Cowboys owner. That can't be said for Harvey Bum Bright, who owned the Cowboys from 1984 to 1988, and the Cowboys were 36-43 under him. The Texas oil man sold the Cowboys to Jones in 1989, who immediately fired Tom Landry and did that whole Herschel Walker trade.
The Dallas Cowboys. This one is easy. How the Cowboys did not even get a first, second, or third round pick for Amari Cooper is beyond me. Them boys got 2 fists that resulted in offensive lineman Matt Maletzko and linebacker Devin Harris. All Cleveland got was back-to-back insanely productive seasons from Cooper. Some say Dallas won the trade because they drafted CeeDee Lamb, but ask yourself if they could have used Cooper in the playoffs the last 2 years.
Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. Now, Jerry is like a Trevor Bauer fastball, peaking in the mid-90s. Yes, he won 3 rings early in his tenure, but just like Umfufu, what have you done for me lately? Jones, along with his son Steven, are the de facto GMs, and in 30 years, it's been a total shit show. Jones has whiffed badly on coaches, Dave Campo, Jason Garrett, and ask any Cowboys fan about Mike McCarthy. He had to be talked out of drafting Johnny Manziel. I will give him credit. He has a good scouting team, but his loyalty has hurt him, sticking with Zeke for far too long and not firing Jason Garrett. Side note, there have only been 2 Cowboys GMs, and Tech Schramm was better than Jerry. I'm also very surprised Jerry World has hosted only 1 Super Bowl in its 15-year existence, considering the amount of weight Jerry throws around against his buddy Roger and the rest of the league. But maybe it's not something he's all that interested in. Like, you know, your grandma that doesn't want company to come over and mess up her vinyl couch covers. I don't know, Jerry. AT&T hosted Super Bowl 45, which is the closest the Cowboys have gotten to a Super Bowl since the 90s, and that was a while ago. Still a great stadium, though.
Dallas Cowboys. Look, not making the NFC Championship game for over 30 years is not a scandal, but in 2015, team executive Richard Dalrymple was accused of voyeurism by 4 members of their cheerleading squad. He was also accused of taking extremely inappropriate pictures of Charlotte Jones Anderson, literally Jerry Jones's daughter, and a team executive. A $2.4 million settlement was reached, and Dalrymple was cleared of wrongdoing. However, he was given a written warning. Anecdotally, his behavior was a known thing around the office. None of the women involved, nor Dalrymple, are with the team anymore. Yeah, this all happened like Jerry having a daughter out of wedlock.
Charles Haley. Weird might be an understatement when you're talking about Charles Haley. If you're not too aware of what he was like off the field, you might as well at least know on the field that he was one of the most decorated defensive players of all time, winning 5 Super Bowls with the Niners and the Cowboys, making 5 Pro Bowls and notching over 100 sacks in his career. And speaking of sacks, he loved to show off his own. Haley would routinely walk around the locker room naked with an ace bandage wrapped around his gigantic hog, saying things like, "I'm the last naked warrior." I mean, that's called Tuesday in my house. Haley would also take the opportunity during team meetings to beat his meat, often while graphically discussing other players' wives. He would show off his Jimmy Johnson at just about every opportunity, often giving it the old swim move in front of his peers. Can I say this with a straight face? Do you know how good you have to be at football for people to just kind of ignore the fact that you're constantly whacking it in the office? The list basically starts and ends with Haley and Louis C.K. Eventually, the act wore thin for the Niners as they got so tired of the constant exhibition that they shipped him to the rival Cowboys after he threw used toilet paper at his linebackers coach. And you can fill in the gaps as to what I mean by used. That poop paper, in a way, launched the Cowboys dynasty in the early 90s with Haley playing a massive role in their Super Bowl wins despite still showing off his massive pull. Of course, none of this is the work of a man with a firm grasp on reality. After his career, Haley was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and changed his life when he started going to therapy and taking medication. Good for him, but it's more impressive that he cobbled together a Hall of Fame career in the NFL while simultaneously pulling a Deshaun Watson on a group of professional athletes. The 1990s Dallas Cowboys. Why not start with the past? This has nothing to do with Tom Landry. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He just started to slip a little at the end, with the Cowboys having their second worst season ever at 3-13 in his final year with the team. Jera then found Jimmy Johnson fresh off a college national championship, who proceeded to have an even worse 1-15 season. The Cowboys were in the cellar of the NFL coming into the 1990s, but things changed. The idiotic Minnesota Vikings thought that giving the Cowboys 87 first-round picks for Herschel Walker was a good idea, and the Cowboys naturally capitalized. They drafted Emmitt Smith, pairing the elite back with Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin to take the offense to a whole new level. They also had a really good offensive line. When you think of the Cowboys, you think of them at least being relevant, but they hadn't reached the playoffs in a while before they made it back in 1991. It only took them 1 year for them to turn it around from 1-15 to Super Bowl champions, and not just that, a dynasty. But enough about ancient history and things 90% of you don't remember.
How about them Cowboys?
Dallas Cowboys, Taco Charlton. The Cowboys, for their lack of playoff success, have not lacked good first-round selections in the past decade, or really in the last couple decades, which only makes their playoff failures even funnier to this Eagles fan. But anyway, Taco Charlton was a pretty easy choice here. Selected 20th overall in 2017, Taco played just 2 seasons in Dallas and accumulated just 4 sacks, starting 7 games before he was shipped out. He bounced around the league and a couple more teams for a little bit until 2022, never making much of an impact. Pretty big waste of a first-round pick, if you ask me. Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. Again, this is where context is important, because for a guy, normally when you've won 12 games, 3 straight years, and you have a Super Bowl championship on your resume, albeit from years ago, you get a lot of leeway, even though Cowboys in the playoffs haven't been that great under McCarthy. But we all know Jerry Jones, and we all know that I think a lot of people were somewhat shocked that McCarthy wasn't fired after that blowout loss to the Packers last year in the wild card round. So I'm going to say that McCarthy, good old Mike, I'm going to say his hot seat ranking, 4.5 out of 5. If the Cowboys start slow this year, then I think he's going to be out of there. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. Well, here we go again. It's year 9 of the Dak Prescott experiment. We know the deal by now. This isn't really difficult. He's great against bad teams, and he's mediocre against good teams. He cannot be trusted in big games. We saw that once again last year in the playoffs versus Green Bay. I don't know how many fucking times I have to say it. I said it all year, and it was, oh, you're just a hater. You're just a fucking Eagles fan. And look what happened. They got the shit kicked out of him. He's a stat patter, another guy. He's a good quarterback, okay? He's a good quarterback, but he's going to end his career in the Tony Romo, Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers tier of losers with good stats. So despite the fact that he has a bunch of numbers and stuff, maybe I'm just being a little bit too harsh on him here. I don't really care. His prover rating's a 9.5 out of 10. Been a starting quarterback now going on 8 years, and he has, what, 2 playoff wins? Never made a conference championship game? I mean, give me a fucking break. Seriously. Dallas Cowboys, Dexter Lawrence. Some people might have said Trayvon Diggs. Tyron Smith, my choice for the Cowboys last season, is now gone to the Jets. I said Dexter Lawrence is kind of a guy that he hasn't had a double-digit sack season since 2018. He's made the Pro Bowl each of the last 2 years, despite the fact that he has just 10 sacks in that time span. And again, I understand that, especially when it comes to defensive linemen, there's some nuance there, but it seems like he's a bit of a bigger name than he actually is. He seems like a guy, people kind of talk about him like he's a double-digit sack guy every single year when he's not. And I feel like he hasn't produced. I mean, he had 14 and a half sacks in 2017. He had 10 and a half sacks. Ever since then, he hasn't been in the double-digit sack range. I'd like to see him, or I wouldn't as an Eagles fan, but I feel like in order for him to actually live up to the status as a Pro Bowler, he needs to get more sacks. He needs to be more consistent getting to the quarterback. Dallas Cowboys, 1989, Troy Aikman. That's right, even some Hall of Famers, and some people might not agree that Troy Aikman's a Hall of Famer, but he is in the Hall of Fame, regardless of what you think or not. So a Hall of Famer graces this list, and it's tough to say that it's not warranted. did. In his rookie season, Aikman famously did not win a single game. In 11 starts, he went 0-11 on a terrible Cowboys team, completing 53% of his passes, with 9 touchdowns to 18 interceptions, with a dreadful 55.7 passer rating. But, as we all know, things would turn around very quickly for the Cowboys and Aikman as they traded away Herschel Walker, and that allowed them to build through the draft and bring in tons of talent that led to them winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.